Selling my Chrysler Conquest. This is an 87. It has the stock inline 4 2.6 liter turbocharged, although the head has been replaced and no longer has jet valves in it. So I'll just do a quick walk around here and then show you some of the cool things about this car. You see it has the original paint and there's some dings. Like here and here, there's some paint scratches over here. But overall it's in pretty good shape considering it's, I don't know, it was 87, so it's like 30 years old now. It has new tires. Well, they have about 10,000 miles on them, but they have plenty of tread. There are wider tires in the back than in the front. I have a locking gas cap. Continue this walk around. Hatchback's pretty nice. The seats fold down. I can demonstrate that in a little bit. It's got a limited slip differential, rear wheel drive, 5-speed. It is a manual. See, we got some more scratches over here on the passenger side. They've been covered up by some touch-up paint to try and preserve the metal underneath, keep it from rusting. Although there are a few rust spots. This is the worst one that's visible. Everything works really well on it. It's got 75,000 miles. It's really easy to shift. Feels like it has plenty of power. There was a whole bunch of power back in 87, 175 horsepower. Has automatic seat belts. So when you turn on the car, this will pull back. Also has turbo on it, which is kind of cool. You also have a second seat belt, so once the automatic one comes on, you pull up this seat belt and clip it in on the other side. Got leather seats. There's a whole bunch of adjustments on these seats. So this is one for your thighs. You can raise it up or lower it. You can move it forwards and backwards, obviously. And you can do the seat tilt. And the headrest can move a little bit too, I think. Maybe not. On the inside of the seats, you have some lumbar support controls, which is this knob here. And you also have this knob, which will actually squeeze the sides of the seats in. Have that on both front seats. You have electric locks. So if you push this, the other side locks. Open that, other side unlocks. Got power windows, which work well. You have power mirrors on both sides, which also works well, done with this interior mirror control. And up in the front we have main lights, running lights. Turn the lights off. You can just pop the lights up if you want. Fog lights and your emergency flashers. Got your blinkers here. This is how you do your high beams as well. Got your gauge dimming, rear defrost. And your gauges, you have a battery gauge, fuel gauge, speedometer, turbo or boost meter, RPM, and your temperature and oil pressure. So you got a good amount of gauges on here. Your wiper settings, it has intermittent wipers, just like most modern cars. Key start, just like all modern cars. You have a radio with an equalizer built in, which is really cool. Everything works on that except that the tape player doesn't work. I assume there's some rubber bands in there that need to be replaced since they're 30 years old now. You have a cigarette lighter, which I actually have the original actual cigarette lighter that goes into that. Let me turn on the car to show some more of this functionality. Starts up really well. Runs really quietly. So there goes the automatic seatbelt. So in here we have an automatic thermostat. You just set the temperature you want and it goes to it as long as you have auto on. AC actually does work quite well, which I'm very amazed by. I haven't had to do any work on that. So that works really well. The issue is, I don't know what happened there, so there's just scratches in the middle of the temperature display, but you can go, it works well even though you have that. You have your time display up there, got a whole bunch of vents. You have 6 speakers in this car, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 2 in the back. You have controls on the steering wheel where you can control your radio. So if I turn that on, listening to something, you have mute, volume down, volume up, seek, which I'm not sure if it'll really get it in this area. It's a little weak on its receiving. Alright. And then memory recall, it'll go to your next memory station. And you can change FM and AM. Horn works. You have a 5-speed shifter. This could be adjusted so it's actually correct. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and reverse. Really easy to shift. You have an emergency brake, which works really well, although the light seems to stay on sometimes, so I think there's a switch issue with this. I think the switch is a little sticky. Turn off the radio. Got power steering. I'll demonstrate the windows for you. So, window down on driver, window down on passenger. That's about it for the front, so now I'll show you the engine. Now we got it running. Cool. Gotta pop it. It's pretty hot in here since it's a turbo engine, but its cooling fans work as they're supposed to. Doesn't have any coolant leaks at the moment. I've replaced a couple hoses for that, replaced all the vacuum lines. It's got a new battery, it's new injectors. We have injectors. So the air comes in through here. We got our air filter in here. goes into the turbo, comes out of the turbo, goes into the intercooler. From the intercooler, it comes back up here and goes into the intake where we have 2 injectors, one low and one high volume, and then that gets injected into the 4-cylinder engine, and the exhaust comes out, powers the turbo, and goes out. Got your brake booster over here. The master cylinder was replaced because that was leaking, no longer. Got a starter down there which has been replaced. New spark plugs and wires, you can see. Yeah, everything's really working quite well up here. So I'll move on into the interior. So on the interior side, if I move up our driver's seat. So on the interior side in the back we have space for 2 small people, 1 very small person in the middle. So there are technically 5 seat belts in this car, but it's more of a 2-person car, but you can fit 2 kids back here. 2 adults if they're really squished. You can use these little things to fold down. Gives you a whole bunch of space. Can actually fit a good amount of stuff in here. If I pop the trunk, sometimes this doesn't work. May need some work, but key always works. Oh, it worked today. So you can open up. Got a nice back here. Here are your 2 rear speakers. If you lift this up, you got your spare tire, your fuel tanks here, and so under that panel is some access to a fuel filter and stuff. Yeah. So the original antenna was ripped out before I owned the car, so I put in this aftermarket antenna. It works. Obviously, you were listening to radio earlier. If I open this gas cap for you, you need your key to open it. It's just the usual gas cap. Give you a view underneath the car. So we got your gas tank right there that has been retreated. It had a bunch of rust in it, and so it was taken apart and epoxied. Yeah, it's a pretty great car. Oh, there's a chip here in this rear light cover for the brakes. Oh, you have your washer fluid for the rear. You have a rear wiper. Rear wiper. Intermittent rear wiper does not work, and it also doesn't stop on its own, so it'll just keep going until you turn it off. So that could be a little mini repair for you. I have done most of the work on this car myself. I'm an engineer, like working on cars, but I don't have much space to keep this anymore. Want it to go to somebody who has a good way to keep it and a lot of time to tinker around with it, although it is working really well right now with only 75,000 miles on it too. Now this car also has a car alarm, so I'll just demonstrate that for fun. In order to activate it, you have to lock the car from the inside without the key, and it'll say security, and you lock the door, close the door while holding the handle open so that it stays locked, and when security goes away, then it's activated. So the car is locked, can't open it. If I go ahead and say unlock it from the inside, Nothing happens, but as soon as you open up that door without the key, it'll start going off. And there you go, it puts up the lights and everything. In order to deactivate it, use your key, put in the ignition or in the front. So that's a neat feature considering it's a 87. Now I'll show you a little bit more of the interior features, and I actually have a owner's manual that I'll show you. So on the inside here we have a glove box that you can lock. So you open that up, and there's a screwdriver in here, or a little tool, so that you can actually move your automatic seatbelt if it ever stops working and attach it to some part underneath on the back of your door there, underneath that panel. So good to know. But seatbelts have worked really well for me, which is convenient. So we have our owner's manual, 87. It's a little used, but it is all here, the original, and you can read all about the features of your car. Of course, there are no airbags because it was an 87. You have this area down here where you can store stuff, no cup holders. You have this center console. You have a little bit of space down here. Transmission seems to take up a bunch of space there. And you have this extra little compartment that's sort of hidden here. These emergency exit switches for your seatbelts, because these automatic seatbelts, they are fixed to the outside of the car here, and so they move from in here. So if you're in an accident, it'll lock these in place to hold you from jolting forward. And after the accident, if you need to get out of the car, just pull up this switch, and it'll release it so you can get out. And it'll, if you pull it up, then it starts beeping and gives you a light here to tell you to put it down. Just a neat little feature they thought of. And here are the pedals. There's another spot on the car I had missed when I was calling out. There's a little scratch here. I guess the door may nick it and pull that away. So now that I've done a good rundown of the car, I'll drive it around, show you how it performs. So I have my cameras all situated. Let's get going. So it's amazingly smooth. I have a 86 Pontiac, and the shifting of this car just seems light years ahead of it in terms of engineering. It's just so easy to effortlessly throw it into the next gear. There's no having to force it. The clutch pedal is engaged very early on in its stroke, and it's very happy to go at high RPMs. Now I only like to do stuff like that after I've warmed it up, so really not often. I baby this car a bit. But as I said, the only reason I'm getting rid of it is I want someone else who likes to take care of cars and have a really nice place to keep it. I don't have any garage or anything in an apartment now, so it's not really a good place to keep my rare antique car. I know there's a lot of you guys out there that really like these cars, so if you want a nice Conquest, this is a really good option. There you can see it's at 74,991 miles. so really hasn't driven much in its 30 years. It's got a lot ahead of it. So you can see it's a very happy engine there. But I really don't like to punch it all that much, although it is fun. But I've cleaned up the brakes on this car. Brakes are good. Amazingly, I haven't had to do too much work on it. A lot of restoration just from old rubber parts, new tires, new vacuum lines. Had to get the new fuel injectors. I got them from Fuel Injector Clinic. Because it was working, but my original injectors were leaking, so. And one of the amazing things is that the lights work so well. Like I said, I have a Pontiac with pop-up lights, and they're really intermittent, but I've never had the lights on this car not go up. It's really neat to have the boost gauge there to show you what the turbo's doing. I will say it's not the most comfortable car for a very tall person. For instance, when I drive it, I can't really see the blinker lights because the steering wheel's in the way, but I guess that's part of the experience of an old car. Put on the AC. Ah, it's starting to rain. Demonstrate the wipers. Lower the fan, although it's still on auto. Got someone who's a little bit light on the pedal here in the driver car. Yeah, very happy to get up into those RPMs real quick. Very smooth. Amazingly smooth engine. Put on the lights for you. And there we have it. Chrysler Conquest, 87, 75,000 miles. Great shape. If you have any questions, feel free to ask.